And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a Thursday edition of the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler out in California, the best executive producer in the game, Zach Bloomquist, and that is it. Zach has a camera on himself. He says Zach might be a little camera shy, Ziggy. We were telling him right before we started, it's like when you're talking, go ahead, throw yourself on. He said, I like being the voice of God. So like we have the trade-off already. It's when we lose Jack and Andrew for episodes, we get the camera on Zach. So we have to deal sometimes with his opinions, but we get that face on camera. But if Zach doesn't want that, then all of a sudden now, I'm not sure the trade-off is worth it. No.
I was waiting for Zach to step in because he's sort of on, so this was going to be his time.
Well, that was directed at you. It wasn't directed at me.
Well, all right. We have a fun show today. We're going to be hitting on the rookies.
We have a very lonely show, though, today, remember.
Oh, what?
A very lonely show.
A lonely show, yes. But we're going to be hitting on Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud. All of them wrapped up mini camps. Good and bad. Mostly good coming from them. So we're going to do a lot of gassing up these rookies. And Ziggy, it got me a little jealous, actually, because I'm sitting here. Vikings are getting ready to move on from Kirk Cousins within the next year or two, probably. We've been saying that forever. But I'm looking at all these rookies right now. I'm like, man, it would be fun to have someone like that in the program at the moment.
It'd be fun to have them right now, Paul, but it is a virtual certainty that one of those rookies is going to be off their team after the first contract because they played so horribly. So oftentimes once the game starts, Josh Rosen got hyped up a ton in minicamp, right? Patrick Peterson was saying he's one of the best quarterbacks he's ever seen. The Cardinals, the whole team was saying like, this guy's going to be great. And Cardinals fans, you remember, were excited. They finally had the quarterback of the future. And 1 year later, he's basically off the team. Yep. So that was extreme. But just because it's fun to have a rookie quarterback now, we got Captain Kirk. We got the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the league. We're doing okay.
Yes, I'm happy with Kirk. And again, if Zach doesn't want to speak up that much, we got top 10.
It's great to have an above-average quarterback.
We have a top 10 quarterback in the league on our team. I have no issue with that. Just saying, those quarterbacks are fun. Let's start. Before we get into the rookies, the Lions unveiled a new helmet, an alternate helmet that they'll use twice this season. Once on Monday Night Football against the Raiders on October 30th, and then the last week of the season against the Vikings. This is their walking lion. Do we have it up?
We have it up.
This is awesome. One of our first graphics. The walking lion logo. It's a throwback to the logo the Lions used to use from 1946 to 1969. And all the Lions fans seem generally excited about this. I'm just going to say there's a reason it hasn't been around in 54 years. There's a reason.
Here, I'll say it for you. It's the ugliest helmet I've ever seen in my life.
I am so excited they're going to be wearing that against us Vikings. Because that uniform is cursed. Like, you think the helmet looks bad, and then you see their ash gray uniforms,
which they have to wear. They have to wear it with the ash gray because of the color rush.
Yeah, it may be the worst NFL uniform combination I've ever seen.
The lion just looks like a third grader drew it, or that it came from a caveman or something like that. It is. Look, I'm all for throwbacks. I enjoy those uniforms, but just in this case, I'm not really seeing it. I like the color. Yeah, the color's cool, but the logo itself, I'm a little confused about all the hype from Lions fans. I guess they're just excited right now.
What are the two lines?
I don't know.
Is it because it's a lie?
No. I really don't know. I looked into it a little bit, but to be honest, I wasn't going to throw too much attention at the Lions helmet.
The first time I saw this, I'm not kidding, I thought it was a redesign of the Greyhound's bus logo. It looks just like that, right? You got the lion sort of stretched out.
Yeah, and it does look like a greyhound. No, so be it. They're going to use it for a couple games. It's fun. They're doing things a little differently in Detroit right now. May as well. Whatever they're doing is working. So I'm not going to criticize them too much. I just think it's
how much do you think they paid
kind of
somebody
ridiculous
to remake this helmet?
I don't know. It looks like something that they asked fans to design, and like a 12-year-old drew it.
There's this one person on TikTok, like logos redesigned or whatever. She made a really cool looking Lions logo.
Yeah, she's really.
They would have been much better off picking something some fan on the internet made instead of whatever consulting group told them to use this.
I think one of her designs for the Browns became a finalist when they were picking the new dog logo. I'm pretty sure.
She knows what they're doing.
Yeah, so there you go. There's the new Lions logo, the walking lion alternate helmet for next year. And we'll see how they do. I don't know. It's a new look Lions, so quite literally. All right, Bryce Young. Apparently, he was very impressive at minicamp. We tend to be a very positive Bryce Young show.
Except for Jack.
But Bryce has been everything the Lions thought he'd be and more. Adam Thielen singing his praises. DJ Chark, Brian Burns.
Who? He's not on the Lions.
Who isn't?
Bryce Young?
Did I say Lions?
Yeah.
Oh, with the Panthers.
You said the Lions.
I'm sorry, with the Panthers.
That uniform is haunting Paul's mind right now.
I have the
It's
Lions
so bad.
helmet. Yeah, it's just stuck in my mind. Bryce Young with the Panthers. Adam Thielen was saying all the players, a lot of the veterans were caught off guard with just how prepared he was. This is something that we knew coming into the draft. He's someone who's going to know the playbook from top to bottom the moment he steps in. Very calm, very confident. We know this about Bryce Young. DJ Chark said everybody is here for him, and we believe he can take us to really high places. Already gathered or garnered a lot of respect in that locker room. It's so far I'm liking all the signs, Ziggy. Are you happy with the Panthers' decision at the moment to have him atop their depth chart? Because we see CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, they're still splitting some reps every once in a while, or they're still splitting reps in mini camps and probably into training camp. But the Panthers said no. Bryce Young, he is the number one guy. Andy Dalton's the backup. That's how we're going to roll for the rest of this offseason.
I mean, the problem with the Panthers, Bryce Young's at the top. Who else is going to be there? Andy Dalton is no good. Matt Corral, he's already on the outs a year after getting drafted.
Yep.
It's normal to have teams sort of gassing up their quarterback. But I think the things Panthers fans should be excited about is that unlike last year, where for the first half of the season, you had a team that really had no direction, didn't know what they were doing, players weren't super excited.
Yeah.
Even if guys are always going to gas up their quarterback if he's a rookie, you've got a team that finally looks organized, that really wants to play together. And it seems like they actually have a vision of how this year is going to go, right? They're in a pretty soft division. They've got a quarterback that's developing, that players are impressed by, that's working hard, right? He's not slacking off. I think that even if this doesn't give us a great indication of how he's going to play, it's got to be exciting as a Panthers fan just to feel like you have some sanity with your team for once.
Oh, yeah, I look at the Panthers right now, and if I'm a big Panthers fan, we have the best coach in the division. I'm pretty confident about that. Our defense is right up there with everyone else. I'd probably put New Orleans a little bit above them. Tampa Bay's in the same area, but it's not like this isn't a top, better than average defense in Carolina. And then quarterback, I feel like after a few weeks of the regular season, you could very well be looking at the second best quarterback in the NFC South. I'm not ready to put him above Derek Carr just yet, because when Carr's on, he's very, very good. But this roster from top to bottom, it's not one of the better ones in the league. They're not going to go win the Super Bowl or anything. But in terms of the NFC South, the Panthers really aren't that far behind in terms of talent, I don't think.
No, there's a lot of talent on the team, right? The defense keeps getting better. They keep picking up cornerbacks that can play. They've, of course, got Brian Burns, who the Rams were ready to give up 2 first-round picks for last year, of course, because it's the Rams, but he's an elite pass rusher. I worry a little bit about the receivers, right? DJ Moore's gone. They've got DJ Chark and 33-year-old Adam Thielen, 32-year-old Adam Thielen, old man Adam Thielen, who's probably going to miss 8 to 10 games this year with an injury, right? Paul, you and I know how this goes. And the other 6, he's going to be hurt anyway.
He'll be good in the red zone, but Adam, his days of separation, and look, he's got great hands still, but I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of contributions from Adam other than short yardage situations.
No, but there's not a lot of pressure on this Panthers team, right? They just need to look like they're improving. So they get to go out there. They get to have some fun. They've got a guy who clearly is a leader, who they're ready to rally behind. I don't know. If I'm a Panthers fan, even if I'm not expecting them to go on a deep playoff run this year, there's a lot to be looking forward to. Yeah. So this is much better than, this is what you want to hear coming out of training camp. Again, people are going to be worried about the size. They're going to be worried about the injuries. They're going to say, it's shorts and a t-shirt, no pads. And fair enough, right? Nobody really doubted Young's ability to process plays, to learn a playbook, to have some good movement in the pocket. But boy, you'd rather be hearing this than silence.
or you even see they're asking Frank Reich if he was concerned with the height, and he said, we expected a lot more passes to be getting batted down right now because the way you're playing in these mini camps and everyone's kind of lagging off the line of scrimmage at the end. You're not rushing the quarterback. So you're able to just jump up and try and bat the ball down, as opposed to in live simulation when you're going after the quarterback, you might not even know the ball's released. He said really not too much has been bad down at all. And so the size, that's not a concern for me, though. We know that Jack and Andrew might talk about that, really Jack. But I look at Carolina, too. At the end of 2022, 3-5 in one-score games. They lost 5 games by 8 points or less. And they ended the year 4-2, making a run for the playoffs. So I like this team to make a little run. I think their schedule's a little tougher than New Orleans, so they're still my division pick. But I just took a peek at Rookie of the Year odds. Bijan's the favorite at plus 300. You have good value at plus 450 with Bryce Young. I think his team's most likely to be good of the rookie quarterbacks, and that's definitely can go a long way. Could be worth a little sprinkle.
I mean, a starting quarterback is in a great position to win that award. It's not as bad as MVP, right? But if you're a quarterback and put together, like if the Panthers put together a 7-9 season next year, or I guess what, it'd be 7-10 now. If they put together a 7-10 season, he's probably winning the award.
Or if they just threaten for the wild card. And Bijan too, he's in Atlanta with Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier right now. So a lot of mouths to feed in Atlanta. I expect Bijan to be very good, but just worth a little sprinkle for all those gamblers out there. I know Zach's going to go home and consider that Bryce Young plus 450. All right, Anthony Richardson. So he is splitting first team reps with Gardner Minshew at OTAs. Apparently taking in a lot of information from Minshew and Sam Ehlinger. They've said very eager to learn is one way that Gardner Minshew has described him. You have to remember, Minshew is in his actually now his third year with Shane Steichen, who they both come over from Philadelphia. And the most impressive feature so far for Richardson, to no one's surprise, is his physical traits. Here's what Zaire Franklin said. It's crazy. Even just in walkthrough against him, it's like, okay, when 5's in there, you've just got to be aware. It's just a whole other element to an offense that you don't necessarily have to think about with a more traditional quarterback. And we know that. We've seen the combine performances. He runs a 4.43 40. He'll be a nightmare for NFL defenses if, and only if, he fixes accuracy issues. Because apparently they're still kind of hanging around throughout spring ball. A lot of people will say, well, look, Paul, he doesn't have accuracy issues. His receivers just dropped a lot of passes at Florida. And that's true. What do you say, Ziggy? 9 dropped passes last year?
Yeah, 9 doesn't sound like a lot, but it was, I think, 5th or 6th highest in the D5 football last year. So quite a few.
Yeah, and that'll impact the percentage. He ended last season with a 53.8% completion percentage. So that's not the best measure, though, of accuracy because you have dropped passes. You have things like that, like outliers there. The best way to look at it would be something like on-target rate, which when you look at those statistics, 95th in catchable pass rate, 79.8% out of 114 FBS quarterbacks, 106th in on-target rate, 65.4% of the 114 quarterbacks. So there is an accuracy issue with Anthony Richardson. He's working on it. It does seem like there are issues that can be corrected, but until he's able to take those steps there, I just don't see him making a huge impact immediately. The athleticism will wow people, but you got to fix that accuracy.
Well, the athleticism's wowing people, and that's why they drafted him. I mean, Stephen Holder, a Colts beat reporter, said today that he fully expects that Richardson, whether he's starting or not, is going to see significant snaps on the field because of his ability to run. So the Colts are clearly excited about that. They want to make use of it as soon as possible. And it means he doesn't need to be quite as good a passer as a guy like Bryce Young, right? Because if you want to use Bryce Young like Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young's not making it through game 3. He's probably not even making it through game 1. But look, I mean, Richardson was asked to do a lot last year, right? He wasn't given a lot of the easy passes that some other quarterbacks have been given. And that, of course, affects the accuracy.
Yep.
The thing I worry about of Anthony Richardson is just how bad he was at throwing passes while scrambling, right? If you look at the reason you're taking Anthony Richardson is because you want him to be able to make those athletic plays, right? The Colts see him, they see a guy who can run. It's like, all right, he'll be on the run, he'll pass the ball, he'll be making those Patrick Mahomes-like plays. Well, you said what? His on-target rate was 106th in FBS last year?
Yes. And
that was negative 4.4%. His on-target rate while scrambling was negative 25.6%. So we're talking a whole nother level of inaccuracy.
We're talking 5 times.
Yeah. We're talking an average FBS quarterback would have been 25% more accurate than him on the run.
Well, that's what it comes down to is a lot of these, from what I've seen, a lot of routes, or there are certain routes for Richardson where he is exceptionally bad, exceptionally inaccurate. But then in most other areas of the game, he's better than, or at the very least, average. So it may not be a huge, like this accuracy issue is not a giant, overwhelming issue for Anthony Richardson. It's one that's just his big problem that he needs to fix, because in other areas, really, he's a very good quarterback.
Well, and look, when you're deciding between quarterbacks, right, this is probably what the Colts were thinking. We can take a quarterback like Will Levis. It's got a lot of small issues that need to be fixed, right? All of the big things, more or less, are there in varying degrees, but there's a ton of small issues preventing him from using them. Or you look at Anthony Richardson, and he's got one big issue, accuracy. And of course, you can break that accuracy into a few parts, right? Sometimes he makes questionable throws. Mm-hmm. His post-snap processing needs work. His footwork's not the best. But there's that one big thing you have to fix. And if you can fix that, you know for sure that he is going to be a superstar in the NFL. And honestly, if they trust their quarterback development, they've got Steichen from the Eagles. He's done a good job time and time again with young quarterbacks. If they can fix that, Anthony Richardson, we know what he can be. Yeah. So I think it's a sensible approach for them to take the guy with the one big issue, work on it in steps, right? None of these issues were getting fixed overnight, and it's only been a few weeks. I don't know. I think there's a lot for Colts fans to look forward to here.
Oh, 100%. If I were a Colts fan right now, I would be extremely excited for the upcoming season. He might not start week 1, but by week 4, you're definitely going to see Anthony Richardson. My guess is he actually does play week 1 at the moment. But, this guy is just so many reasons to be excited. It's a good time to be an AFC South fan for the first time, in years, other than probably the Titans right now. You have to say they're the least exciting team for the future.
You don't believe in Malik Willis to take over the league?
I don't believe in Malik. I don't believe in the coffee and mayo guy. I'm not really a big fan of where Tennessee. I like Vrabel a lot, so I think they're going to be fine. But just in terms of right now, if you had me list out who I want to be a fan of, probably go Jaguars. Oh, man. Jaguars, then I might even put Texans at 2, because I like Stroud a little more than Richardson. And with that, why don't we move on to CJ Stroud? That was not intentional. That was not an intentional transition there. It just kind of happened. CJ Stroud, Texans minicamp. Apparently he's shining. That's the word that I saw. CJ Stroud shines at minicamp. He has gotten rave reviews. Noah Brown said maybe he could even be better than Dak Prescott. That seems a little strong from Noah in just his first couple practices with CJ. But
maybe he could be.
He could be, yeah. Dak right now, we've had a lot of issues with Dak fans on this show over the past few days following the Kirk Cousins reel. I don't dislike Dak Prescott. I think Dak's a very good quarterback. He was number 10 on my list. It went Kirk 9, Dak 10. But everyone seems to take issue with me saying Kirk's a little bit better. Literally one spot better. Dak had a bad year he didn't have a great season last year. Very good a couple of years before that. So, look, no issue with Dak. Noah Brown thinks CJ could be as good, if not better. Yeah, I wanted to get that off my chest. I have nothing against Dak Prescott. Case Keenum said, I would have thought that CJ would have been here a year, been in the league maybe 4 or 5 years as a vet. D'Amico Ryans says he doesn't make the same mistake twice. Was very impressed with him throwing a pick, coming back, 2-minute drill touchdown to end one of their practices. The starting quarterback battle between him and Davis Mills, it's there, but in all likelihood, we know that CJ Stroud will be starting week 1. But everything coming out is that he's been pretty accurate throughout all the spring. Not too many issues there. Again, we talked about this a few weeks ago. The best CJ Stroud we saw was against Georgia in the playoff game last year when they opened things up for him and let him get on the run a little bit more, where Ryan Day was less conservative. If you see that CJ Stroud, that attacker, I'm very happy as a Texans fan.
This is one thing I actually wonder when you're talking about NFL vets getting excited about a rookie quarterback. How much of it is level of play versus how much of it is charisma, right? Because if there's one thing about CJ Stroud, so he's a pretty charismatic guy, right? People loved him in Ohio State. In the pre-draft process, it seems like he gave the right answer to every question. If a guy comes in, he's a dynamic leader. He's funny. He owns up to his mistakes. He's a cool guy to be around. I'm probably going to be more excited about him than I am about a quarterback who, is a little more introverted, who's a little more cerebral, who's just trying to sort of do his thing. So I get a little bit worried when some of these veterans go in, and this applies to everything that's been said, right? When it's just like, yeah, this is my guy, I'm ride or die with him. I think he has a chance to be great. I mean, sure, everyone's got a chance to be great until they start taking snaps, right? But I don't know. CJ Stroud, there are some things I worry about with him. It's going to be tough to know until a little bit more time progresses. But again, just like the Panthers, at least you've got a guy in the room who's a leader, who the team can unify around, who at least the start of the season they're going to be ready to play for. Because people were not ready to play for Case Keenum. People were not ready to play for Davis Mills. Because they're just not that guy.
Well, you're also right, too. All three of the rookies this year are very good leaders. They're very humble guys. They're very respected from Florida, Alabama, and Ohio State. So maybe that does impact a little bit of what we're seeing. How come their teammates are just so, giving so much praise to them at the moment. Could be part of the reason. It's just that they're all good dudes. You're not seeing anyone come in there saying I'm the best. There's no. I think everyone liked Johnny Manziel and like Baker, but those guys have a little bit more attitude to them, I guess you could say. I believe Brian Burns was saying a humble swagger for Bryce Young. So those guys, they all just seem like cool, fun dudes to be around. So maybe you are seeing that. With CJ Stroud specifically, his situation in Houston, I'm not confident that the Texans are going to have a good year at all. I think that's a bigger roster issue surrounding them. Not a lot of talent on the outside. Robert Woods is your number one. Then you have Nico Collins. There's not that. Even Michael Pittman's Jonathan Taylor, really nice out in Indianapolis. In Carolina, I'm not a huge fan of Thielen and Chark and Miles Sanders, but it's probably still a little bit better than what Stroud's working with. So I don't see success coming immediately for CJ down in Houston, but I do think that D'Amico Ryans, from everything you hear, is a very good coach, very respected. If they're able to build a roster over the next few seasons, CJ Stroud, it would not surprise me if he turned into the best quarterback out of this class. But
it'd shock me.
I think it'll be Bryce Young, but it wouldn't surprise. It wouldn't stun me. I think CJ Stroud is very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've said it a few times on the show. I've said it a few times on the show. I'll say it again. The Texans, they haven't had a coherent game plan since Deshaun Watson basically sat out a year. The Panthers haven't had a coherent game plan in a while. The Colts haven't had a coherent game plan since before Andrew Luck retired. I mean, these teams have been adrift for a while. The number one thing your rookie quarterback is getting you is a plan and hope for the future. So at least fans can look forward to that. Again, as I said, it's highly likely at least one of these guys is going to be terrible. There's no way to know exactly who it'll be yet. I mean, it's just true, right? When was the last time we had the first three quarterbacks of a class drafted early all turn out great? Right? People raved about that 2020 draft class. People raved about the 2021 draft class. I guess you're looking at Burrow to Herbert. But other than that,
worked out pretty well.
There's been a bust pretty high in all of these great quarterback classes.
Let me ask you, Ziggy, between the three quarterbacks right now, which coach would you most want for a rookie quarterback?
Shane Steichen, no question.
Really? Not even close with Frank Reich?
Frank Reich is all right, but we know he plays favorites. He's got an archetype.
Frank Reich is all right.
But, I mean, look, we know he plays favorites. Sometimes things go really well when he's around. Sometimes things go really poorly when he's around. We saw the ups and downs of that in Philadelphia. With Steichen, at least, you're getting a guy who consistently develops the talent that's around him. Right? Pretty much every year, a quarterback gets a year with him. They get a lot better.
What's he had? He's had Rivers, Herbert, and Hurts now?
Yeah.
No, he's got a good track record.
People forget that Rivers Indianapolis year was sort of, I know it was Rivers' last year in the NFL, but that was one of the best years that he'd had in a long time.
Wait, was Steichen, was that not with the Chargers, Steichen?
Oh yeah, shoot, my bad.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Look, we make mistakes on this show sometimes. For some reason, I thought
Colts. It makes sense.
Sense. No, it's okay.
So you go Steichen. All right, I'd probably lean Reich, but Steichen I would say has the most upside, just because we haven't seen anything from Steichen yet as a head coach. Here's the question I wanted to ask you, Ziggy, before finish off this show because I saw, of course, I'm always sifting through Vikings articles on the internet, and I got to the point where someone said, we've finally reached that moment in the offseason where we have nothing to talk about at all. Zach actually sent me a Pat McAfee show reel where they were just talking like, all right, what game do we have on tonight? And everyone just sat there and went, nothing. So I saw this one Viking hypothetical situation, and I'm pretty sure the answer is straightforward, but I just wanted to see what you would think of this. Would you trade Justin Jefferson to ensure the number 1 pick in next year's draft?
No.
Really? I thought the answer. Really? I thought most people would have said yes. So you would not trade Justin Jefferson for Caleb Williams?
Here's the thing. So when you say ensure the number 1 pick, I'm assuming that means it's not like the Vikings are trading Justin Jefferson straight up. They're like trading Justin Jefferson. They suck. They get that first round pick. Yeah. Like it's not as though some other team sucks. Because if it's Justin Jefferson just straight up for the first round pick, sure.
Let me ask
but
you
Jefferson
this.
plus the Vikings.
Let's say this. Would you trade Justin Jefferson for Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
You have to, right?
Look, Justin Jefferson we know he's an all-time great player. We've seen enough from him. You can just declare that he's going to be an all-time great player. There's no replacing having a great quarterback, though. You can't do it, right? How many teams have made a Super Bowl carried by a single wide receiver?
No, that's like really not. I can't think of anything.
Big fat 0.
Yeah, I mean, not carried by a receiver.
No, but how many teams have made the Super Bowl carried by a quarterback? I mean, then the number starts to really go up.
Oh yeah,
so like it's
quarterback or defense.
Yeah, you know who's never been carried?
Shut up, Zach.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk
Cousins has never been carried because he has to do a lot of the carry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Look, I mean, here's the fact, right? Caleb Williams, by all accounts. When you say number 1 pick, actually, I mean, there's a chance Caleb Williams won't be the number 1 pick next year. I know folks are excited.
I know
he's not my QB1.
Yeah,
but if you're giving me the number 1 pick, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So you would take the pick.
It's tough to suck enough to get that number 1 pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a lot of teams that sucked last year. One of them got the number 1 pick. A lot of other teams that sucked didn't. And unlike last year, right, where the Bears were willing to move out, I don't think anybody who gets the number 1 pick this year is going to be willing to move out for like a receiver and a couple first-round picks.
Yeah. Well,
so no. I mean, if you can guarantee that you get that number 1 overall pick, sure, give me Justin Jefferson all day.
Oh yeah, but you wouldn't trade it without that guarantee. It's crazy because there's so much hype around Caleb Williams right now, and Drake May to some degree, but mostly Caleb, that the thought of him not being a top 10 quarterback one day or top 5 quarterback in the league really doesn't seem to be existing in many people's minds. We talked to Andrew, and Andrew sounds like he would put him in the top 5 quarterbacks right now in the NFL. So just in terms of this hypothetical, because who knows what people would actually do. I just don't know. Like, I would probably take it because I like the upside of Williams, but Jefferson is just right now, he's the best receiver ever through 3 years. That'd be tough to get rid of him, but I would do it for the hope of Caleb Williams.
The Vikings won't be as bad as the Lions, no question, but you just don't want to trick. Would you give up Megatron for, who was a really good quarterback taken around that time?
What, like Luck?
Aaron Rodgers hadn't started very many games when Calvin Johnson was drafted, right?
Like Luck in 2012?
Yeah, like would he trade Megatron for Andrew Luck? Absolutely. Right? That would have been clearly the correct thing for Detroit to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's maybe one of the closer situations you could have there. Yeah, you'd have to do it. You would have if presented with that, you'd have to do it. But just a fun hypothetical that I saw. Man, shows the value of those picks right there. Those top tier quarterbacks, even without any proof of being good.
But to be clear, this doesn't mean that your team should start a fire sale and trade all their picks away to try and suck enough to get Caleb Williams, because that's a very different kind of endeavor. Right? You see fans online who are ready for their teams to trade away anyone with a pulse so that their team sucks more. And then you kind of wonder, like, well, who's going to be there when Caleb Williams actually arrives? And if you screw up, say, like, look at the Texans last year. They finished number 2. People are wondering if that really set them back. Mm-hmm. So it can be tough.
Zach, would you trade
enough to get that number 1 pick?
Would you trade Tua for Caleb Williams?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to test his loyalty to Tua right there. Okay, so
I
there you
love
go.
Tua, but
Oh yeah.
mobile quarterback is the way of the road nowadays.
All right, so hey, you never know with Tua right now. With all
Tua's a very mobile quarterback.
Yeah,
His joints go all over the place.
He dies on the field a couple times.
All right, so there you have it. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud, as expected, all look amazing in shorts. So we'll see if that continues once training camps get underway in July. Until then,
I bet they're still going to look amazing in shorts in July.
Yeah, I know. I heard it too.
They're professional athletes. They always look amazing.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back next week with more. We'll have some Tua and Dak conversations. They were pushed off to next week when we decided to talk about the rookie quarterbacks today. So we have some more coming on those guys, and we will see you next week. Please like, comment, subscribe. Until then, see ya.